Hi, everyone, and thank you for coming back to Socially Joe with episode 5. In this episode, we are actually talking with my friend IVONE Keenan, who is with HR or Continuum HR, and we have some interesting information about PEO and what to look out for. So, with that, I'm going to turn it over to IVONE Keenan right now. And IVONE, tell us a little bit about yourself.
Sure. Thanks, Joe. Well, again, as Joe said, it's IVONE Keenan. I'm originally from the New York, New Jersey area, a graduate of Rutgers University. I now live in Bradenton. And over the years, I've kind of been a leader and an innovator with an entrepreneurial spirit and vision. I take a lot of pride and interest in development and implementation of projects that improve businesses' bottom line and the work-life balance. I've been a manager and in sales training and management for over 20 years. And now living in Bradenton, I work for Continuum HR, which is a PEO, which is a professional employer organization.
Awesome. So let's get into a little bit more with Continuum HR. I know we had talked through many different networking meetings and events that we talked to about what you specialize in, and you mentioned PEO, and maybe you can describe a little bit better than me saying it, because I know it's a professional employer organization, but I don't know what that means to me and any other small to medium-sized business, but describe it a little bit more, and what does it involve?
Sure. So the acronym is PEO, and it simply stands, as you already said, for Professional Employer Organization. My history and understanding is that we started back in the late 80s and 90s when business owners started outsourcing different processes of their business that were not, let's say, essential to the core of their business. So if you think of this or a business as a pie, then PEOs were a piece of that pie. PEOs can provide various services, but it's usually HR solutions for small businesses, payroll, benefits, tax administration, regulatory compliance. That's some of many of the services that are provided to growing businesses.
Okay. So with that, I've seen a lot of different companies out there that offer the HR side, the payroll side, and even both under the same blanket. What is the difference between the two different segments of HR and payroll?
Sure. People ask that a lot. I mean, generally speaking, HR is a huge umbrella. When you really, if you're going to make a distinction, your HR resources or department, which often could be just one person, they're usually in charge of personnel, work involving hiring or disciplining of an employee, training, termination, and employee benefits are kind of all the specialties that an HR person or department would handle. And then payroll is very simply just a list of the company's how many employees they have and what each of them are to be paid. So often people will say, my HR department handles that, or my payroll department handles that, but they're really two distinct different functions that can be handled by a whole department or often handled by one person. Does that make sense?
Perfectly. Like I said, it's one of those things that you kind of hear HR and payroll, and you hear certain companies do one or the other, or they basically do all of the one under one blanket. But me being a small business owner, and obviously there are other small business owners and medium-sized businesses, some of us don't know that type of terminology. And, we only think of HR as human resources, and we go, okay, so I need you to create like a book for me. I need you to create, certain systems and processes. Or we go to the payroll side and said, okay, now you can handle my payroll and deduct whatever I need off my taxes to pay my employees. But as both sides of the coin, you need them for your business, correct?
Absolutely correct.
Great. So I know we kind of mentioned it a little bit, but why is it so valuable to offer both of these services to both small and medium-sized businesses? Like, just go on that a little bit.
Yes. Well, I mean, when businesses allow these processes to be outsourced, it then allows the business to really gain operational focus on the core of this business. You know, when things are going well, that's when we should be thinking about, well, let's figure out where else we can be efficient. Can we streamline operation? You know, all the things we can do. But when things are going well, business owners, we tend to think these are more, let's say, niceties, nice things to have. We don't always think of them as things that we need. And these are actually things that your business needs. During these trying times that we have now, we can see that if we were to identify areas of the business now that are causing the business to have some type of change or uproar, well, now you're going to be looking at losing time, you're going to be losing effort, energy, and resources to these non-core functions of the business that in these trying times can be the difference between a business surviving and or a company shutting its doors. Do you kind of see what I'm trying to explain?
Yes, I definitely do. And with today's process of the world going crazy, everyone is in a panic mode and shutting down and, just trying to, do things to make sure they're within HR payroll specs and, making sure everyone gets satiated for their needs. It's just one of those things. And I totally understand that.
When entrepreneurs and small businesses started their business, they had a passion. There was something they really enjoyed doing and felt if they did that every day of their life for the rest of their life, they wouldn't consider it work. And then when you throw in all the facets of a back office, well, that's a different story. So when you're doing it now, when you're trying to decide, let's say in one of the service industries that we all so much depend on, restaurants, well, did you kind of think about having a delivery service before now? And if you did, aren't you glad you did? Did you have other contingency methods? Are you feeling comfortable that you've outsourced to a PEO these type of payroll issues or documentation of sick day issues so that you don't have to focus on that? You can focus on what you do best.
Oh, yeah. And that's wonderful. That's great and wonderful information to go off of. So why is it more that small businesses need it more than large companies? Tell us a little bit more about that.
Well, when we were making the different, when we were comparing, if you would, just the umbrella of an HR versus payroll, the larger companies can invest in a whole department that can, in fact, departmentalize and have different departments that focus on those activities that are to actually train and retain and make employees happy versus some of the rather automatic processes that simply take care of noting time and attendance. When you're talking about a small to mid-sized business, again, these should be the types of processes that have already been thought about, taken care of, and not run into trying to kind of do both ends of the business at the same time.
Awesome.
When we think about it, when we look at some of the stats for small businesses, the stats are showing that companies that work with a PEO grow 7 to 9% faster. They have employees turnover that is 10 to 14% lower and are at 50% less likely to go out of business. I think those are quite incredible stats, and they speak for themselves for why small business owners and small businesses should consider, if not already, working with a PEO.
Yes, and that totally makes 100% sense out of that. So what are I know with PEOs and HR and payroll, your business has to actually deal with compliance and regulatory systems. Tell us a little bit more about that.
Yeah, well, the exact number of PEOs at this point seems to change quite a bit, but my understanding is upwards of 150 companies in the Florida area who are under the umbrella of PEOs. And then you have a number of about 44 or so that are actually IRS certified. So you can imagine when it comes to taxes and compliances, you want to make sure that you're working with a PEO that has the IRS designation, like ours.
That's great. So with that, how far does your company cover? Like, does it blanket the whole United States? Do you just cover Florida? Do you cover, certain territories?
No, not at all. Our corporate offices are here in Fort Myers in Florida. We also have offices in Wisconsin, Georgia, and Tennessee. But we can service any area of the United States.
Nice. I think there's so much to ask about, like HR and payroll, because, like I said, your brain just goes as you start thinking about it. But what is the company's core goals or mission statement on what they provide to their clientele?
Well, I mean, we're a full service PEO. So as I mentioned earlier, we handle HR, we handle payroll, we do benefits, we do tax administration and regulatory compliance. Please know that we're available to provide a complimentary comparison for any business. Sometimes business owners prefer that I speak, if you would, with the person who currently might hold the title of HR or payroll officer to kind of go over their systems now and see where we might be of service. And then sometimes the business owner themselves want to be directly involved with sharing that information and making comparisons. Either way, we do offer a complimentary comparison for any small to mid-sized business.
Okay. So with that, is there any particular business that your company targets, or is it just all blanketed under one? So it doesn't matter if it's, say, restaurants, spas, or tax accounts, or anything like that. It doesn't matter. It's just all in one, correct?
It truly doesn't matter. Small contractors, restaurants, professional buildings, professional employers are all candidates, if you would, for working with a PEO. And again, more than happy to explain the process and give some advice and make some comparisons wherever asked for.
That's great. So, Yvonne, I know you kind of gave us a little bit about the PEO, and a little bit more about what it does, but is there anything else that you can think of that, is an important factor that most small to medium businesses should know about that we're not aware of at this time that, we start considering, or when is a good time to consider to get a PO? Like when you're self-employed by yourself, or should you get it when you have 5 to 6 employees? Tell us more.
Both are good times. If you're just starting out with your business, I'm happy to explain what services we have available and how we might go about helping you fulfill that growth plan. If you've been open for a while, or maybe currently have some type of a relationship with another PEO or payroll company or tax or your lawyer. If you've been working through any of those entities and would prefer to have it done all in one place, then this is a good time to do it. And again, I can't get over that we need to look at those businesses. I think the one thing I hear over and over again from most businesses here in Florida is how hard it is to retain good employees, quality employees. And with that, often that has a lot to do with how the back office is handled for a business. So again,